23 years of industry experience in the roles of increasing managerial responsibilities in the field of sales, marketing, business development. The highlight is Stephen is one of the first batch of certified trainer in India for Louis Allen International USA, a reputed training and development organization presented in over 60 countries across the world since 1958. We'd like to have the honor of Stephen on the stage. Along with Stephen, we have a very senior eminent set of panelists, Mr. Hari, General Manager, Personal and HR, TVS Chakra, a simple man by gesture. You can see he's sitting in the corner. I just request him to take on the dice. To add on, we have Mr. V. Ganeshan, Vice President HR, IFCI Financial Services. It's because he's not well today, but he's committed to share some of his well-known expertise in competency and training with all of you. Then we have Mr. T.K. Prem Kumar, Head Training and Development, LIT Building and Factories, presenting a vibrant speaker on training in particular. Further, we have an interesting personality, a person who wishes to be known as a singer rather than as a trainer, but is best as a trainer. We have Mr. Ilango, accompanied by Ms. Lalita. Mr. Ilango has won various awards in different domains of training. A young gentleman from Lara Missions. So ladies and gentlemen, now the floor is with Mr. Stephen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that's it. This afternoon session is very challenging, especially when we do training. We call this the graveyard shift. Because getting past the shift is a little difficult, especially when the food is good and you have a go ahead. Then the lighting is like this, dim lighting, focus only on the stage. Don't know what happens there, then we are lost. I'm going to take a minute to put us into a little bit of spirit into the session. So I'm going to ask you to stand up, move around a little bit and wish someone whom you don't know who's sitting somewhere next to you. Just say hello and sit down. It'll take us 30-45 seconds, but I think it'll, even that much would have shaken you up from that. Because we go through sessions, not knowing who's sitting next to you, they become passengers. You have 8 hours flight, not knowing who the other guy is. We sit, we go, and then we don't know who they are. And even in life, we pass through that. I think it's good to do this, which will shake us up. We are coming into a very important area of, aspect of training within organizations. Just like how a HR field has evolved, training is also evolving. But the concern has been, who does the training within organizations? Just like what Mr. Sharma said in the morning, very often we think training is something that needs to be more and more outsourced. People don't want to take responsibility for that. To me, the analogy of what he gave in the morning is the whole aspect of engagement. If you want to engage, you should get to know each other. And it's only then that you can really stay in a healthy marriage. A marriage doesn't get over there. Obviously, if you have a happy marriage, what comes immediately after that? Children. And today, parents have no time for children. They outsource bringing up children to everybody else. It's the nannies, it's the daycare centers, it is TVs. You have no time, so you switch on the TV and then you're busy doing other things. And then you suddenly wonder why your children are no longer your children. I think in organizations, training is giving this look. You know, what is happening to our employees? We are giving them training every time and nothing seems to happen. There is more than just getting somebody to train. I think it's the role of the people directly involved on a day-to-day basis. You have 1,000 moments each day to train people that you interact with within your circle. And that's what we will see the speakers tell us. We listen to them. I don't want to take into their time. And then from there we will tie up at the end with the questions that you may have to see what exactly training means for all of us in our own lives, and also in the lives of the organization and institutions that we are running. The first speaker for us today is Mr. G. Hari, who is the General Manager, Personnel and HR, TVS Sri Chakra Limited. He comes with a professional experience of over 38 years in various industries, mainly in steel and automobile. Has served with the principle of his own to make his presence in the companies he has worked. He has been trained on IR practices by the British Steel, UK. HR facilitation, performance management, action-centered leadership, and leadership development, psychometric testing, competency mapping and development, HR metrics are the few areas of his specialization. So he's going to give you an overview of training. And I welcome Mr. Hari to come over. Please give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Stephen. Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues from the HR fraternity, fellow professionals, B-school students. Yeah, it's what he termed it as a graveyard shift. But then I still consider myself fortunate. Because as I understand, long meridian lunch, sumptuous, but it takes about 15 minutes for the digestive system to get into your neurostream, and I've been given 15 minutes, so let me finish and then sit down before you go off. That's jokes apart. We are on a serious subject of training. I'm not a training professional. I have done training, but I do have perspectives of training which I will talk about. My colleague Dinesh asked me repeatedly more than once, do I have a PowerPoint? I said no. I have some material in a PowerPoint mode for my reference, which I will use. Because 15 minutes is a little too short for so many things that I need to speak, I have in my mind from training. I thought PowerPoint is going to distract. So I thought let only one voice come and let it be mine, and not that visual stuff. So therefore, no PowerPoint. My other colleagues in the dais will show their PowerPoint. As usual, I will have this little sequence of what I want to talk about training. Yes, we would definitely have the sequence of a current scenario of business in which all of us are in, or all of us are going to be in the future. Where does training come in as an investment? Now, talk about some areas where training would have definitely inputs to give to organization in the development of its people. Certain methodologies which I have experienced myself. And then finally, some challenges for training and development professions and the function per se. Now, I don't need to tell you the current business scenario, but nevertheless to repeat it. The scenario is dynamic, very flexible, very fierce competition, survival of the fittest. It's a jungle out there. Customer is the decider. Growth is the mantra. Pressure all the time on the top line and the bottom line. It is a case of performance, that is perform or perish. We all say that people make the organization, and therefore agility of of people is the key to success in any organization. And therefore, from there, I conclude that talent development takes the center stage in organization development. Therefore, training becomes a significant facet of employee development. Now, obviously, we always have this kind of fallacy working in our mind. Do I train people? They leave the organization. I start training people. I invest money. Why should I train? Attrition. Now, this dichotomy will be there. Organizations will train people. They will upgrade their knowledge and skills and attitude. They will go away. But the process would be on. Just because there is attrition in the organization doesn't mean that training ceases to exist. Training has to go on for organizational growth, organizational success, and continuous improvement. Why you need training even if there is attrition? Now, training definitely helps in several ways. It helps in enabling people to keep in touch with their employees as only during the appraisal season. It helps the HR fraternity to take feedback at regular intervals, assess employee performance, and understand training needs. So therefore, training is still at the end of the day a takeaway for any organization. And therefore, investment in training and education, according to me, is a sure payoff. To quote a few little statistics about training and development, industry and government in the United States spend approximately $90 billion every year on employee training and education. Average Japanese companies spend about 6% of their budget on training. A study of US automobile manufacturers found US automakers spend about 40 hours training new employees and about 30 hours for Japanese, 300 hours for Japanese automakers. Here's some information about Motorola. Motorola's CEO required all divisions to spend at least 2% of their budget on training. The result, over the next 7 years, profits increased 47%, and it was estimated that each $1 in training yielded $33 in return. If you look at Indian organizations, there are several organizations who invest on training. But I understand, in one of the studies, it is revealed that Indian pharma companies spend the highest amount, 10,000 rupees, on learning and development per employee, and deliver the highest number of learning and development hours per employee. It doesn't mean that others aren't, but it appears to be that pharma companies are investing more on employee learning and development in our country. Having given you a picture about the importance of training and investment, I'd also like to add that a few years ago, Business Week of Business India conducted a survey of best employee practices, and it was during the period when there was a recession. And many of the organizations which were supposed to be famous for best employee practices said that they cut down costs, not on training, on many other aspects, but they never touch training. Typically, when there is a recession or when employee where costs have to be cut, one of the first things that they pick up is training. They catch their training budget and cut. But well-managed companies, good organizations don't touch training because they feel there is an investment for the future. Having said that, I come to some of the areas where we feel, or I feel, we in Indian context require training and focus for greater. One of the areas where we need training or training function need to concentrate on leadership development. And the second aspect is team building. Let me share with you a little example or a little experience that I had with team building in our own organization. We have a typical module which have developed over the last 3 years wherein below the managing director or the top management, we have two very significant layers in our organization. One is a core team consisting of about 10 people at the very senior levels who look at the visioning, the long-term perspective, the plan for the next 10 years of where the organization is likely to go or should go. They look at the strategy part of it. And we have the next level as the functional teams who are part of the day-to-day affairs. They handle the day-to-day management of their functions, including the business. They have been empowered to take decisions at their level with regard to the running of the business, meeting the targets, be it the operational targets or the marketing targets, the financial targets, the quality targets, and what have you. Now, both these levels have been given training in leadership and team building because there is a requirement of a team building between them and within them, intra and intra. And you also need leadership development in both these groups to ensure that they get the leadership inputs to take on higher responsibilities. We've had several wonderful sessions wherein this entire group has been given very strong inputs on leadership and team building, and we are now on a post-training initiative to see that the learnings that have been given gets translated into actual practice. Yet another area where I feel we would need to continue training, or training is going to be an important aspect in covering that particular area, will be stress management. I told you that we are in a situation where people will have to perform, and it has to be consistent performance. And since it's going to be consistent, and it's only going to increase, the pressure is going to increase, I'm quite sure that chances of burnouts are much more. In order to prevent burnouts, people will have to learn to manage stress. And therefore, stress management would definitely be a very strong input on which training will have to be given to people. If organizations have to grow, ladies and gentlemen, they have to continuously improve, which means innovation is a very key area for growth of organization. And when we talk about innovation, people will have to be trained on innovation. So innovation is going to be yet another area for people to be given training inputs on. At lower levels, I have always found that we are very good executives, but when it comes to planning, they are not very good. So planning as a function, planning as a skill will have to be imbibed into people at lower levels so that good planning is done at the initial stages itself, and when good plans are made, I think half the battle is over. The rest of the half is only the implementation part. You spend more time planning, I think the implementation phase becomes easier and smoother, and you end up much more successful. One more point. There could be many other points. I'm only picking up some of the key areas where inputs to be given on training. The last area, which I have added myself, is ethics. We're talking so many things that are happening in our country today. Ethics has definitely taken center stage. We call it by different names at the national level, but I call it at the business level ethics. Let me share a little interesting anecdote. I was talking to a group of B school students a couple of years back. I wouldn't like to tell you the name of the institution, but it is back home in Madurai. And I was asking them a very fundamental question when I was talking about ethics, business ethics. I asked the question, gentlemen, would you like to adopt straightforward means, or would you like to adopt any means, fair or unfair, to achieve results? That came the answer from many people in the auditorium that any means is fine as long as I achieve results, because results is what finally counts. That's what they said. I said, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. Results do count, but the means that you are going to adopt definitely are very, very important. I had to tell them for the next half an hour how ethics is very, very important. Gentlemen, we school students who are all going to be tomorrow's leaders in the industry, we share with you, please stick to ethics. You may not succeed immediately, but in the long term, victory is yours. 100% ethics. So therefore, I still feel that ethics is an issue on which people will have to be culturally inculcated. That I shall not do something to achieve my results which is not fair. That's all. Nothing more I want to add on that, because there's so many things that are being talked about in this country. I think I've given you I've driven home the message. Coming to the next part of what I wanted to talk was methodologies in training. Again, I'll share with you some of the methodologies which I have experienced and many of you would experience if you are not experienced. Psychometrics are being used more and more. I had an association very recently with a training event, or a learning event I would call it. It was an experiential learning event where I went through more than one, the third or the fourth time, I went through an MBTI. I hope you know what MBTI is all about. Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, personality test. I went through 5OB. Several years back I took 5OB, I again took 5OB to find out where I stood in the interpersonal dimensions. I went through the Thomas Tillman mode resolution, conflict resolution mode. All these things are increasingly being used in training to find out where you stand and where you need to go in terms of your learning. Several years back, I was in British team. I must tell you that it was in 1989. I spent about 6 weeks there. And I found in the steel plants kiosks where you could just go in and start on the click of the button, steel making, coke oven making, SMS, steel melting shop, rolling mills, everything on the screen. So you can learn. The whole thing will come there. There's an interactive thing that is going on. And at the end of the program, some questions are asked to find out whether you're picked up. If you have not, then they ask you to go back and then you start. Now, I'm talking about this 1989. I haven't seen many such kiosks in our country, but I feel we need to have such learning facilities available in our organizations where people can simply walk in, learn something, whether it is soft skill, whether it is something connected with their domain, and pick it up. There is an investment involved, but I feel it's a very healthy and worth the while investment. When I talk about stress, obviously things like yoga and meditations do come into my mind as methodologies through which people would get trained in fitness and all that. Yet another interesting area which I find is the use of cinemas, movies for learning. Again, coming back to my own experience, about 2.5 months back, I got associated with a training event. And before the training started, we were to see 5 movies. Very interesting movies in this one. Village, Gladiator, Apollo 13, Last Samurai, Gandhi. Now, we saw these are all full-length feature films. Each film is about 2.5 hours duration. We saw it during our off time, 5 o'clock to 6 6:30, 7:30, that kind of time. We saw it, all video movies, good print. And then when we went to the program, we saw the significance of these movies with respect to what we were planning to be taught. Village was linked to clan. I think all organizations have clans, brothers, sisters, father, same caste, clan, the village. Gladiator. Gladiator means aggressive. I am the last man standing. It happens in organizations. Organizations do not want competition. They will destroy all competition. You have organizations like that. 3. Apollo 13, Lost Samurai. Lost Samurai means everything in a routine, concrete fashion. It happens in organizations where there are rules, there are procedures, everything laid down beautifully to be followed. Apollo 13, networking is what Apollo 13 is all about. And Gandhi is basically looking at future, empire building, what you want to achieve in 20 years from now, your organization. All these 5 movies have significance with organization and what the organization wants to do in terms of its values, in terms of its qualities and dimensions. Movies have therefore become an element through which we learn. And then we had one beautiful movie which we saw during the program, and that was 12 Angry Men. I would suggest each one of you to look at that movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's a movie, it's a feature film in which a jury of 12 people will have to decide whether a boy who has killed his father is guilty or not. The arguments are over. The jury has gone into another room and they have to argue within themselves and decide whether the boy who killed his father is guilty or not. It starts with 11 people saying guilty. One person saying not guilty. 1.5 hours later, the score is guilty 0, not guilty 12. What has happened during that 1.5 hours is something to be seen. Lessons, negotiation. Yeah, there has been a negotiation because those who said guilty and those who did not say guilty have to convince each other. Power of conviction, power of convincing the other individual, make him agree, negotiation skills, decision making, power of influencing, collaborating, colluding. Yeah, we could see people colluding with each other. Outstanding. You could see that movie. 2, it shows leadership. You can see leadership in action in a different perspective. So the same movie is giving so many perspectives of business. I don't know how many of you have seen the Economic Times 4th August. I have it with me here. "30 must-see movies for B-school students." There are 30 movies, all been recommended by deans and principals of B schools abroad. And 12 Angry Men is here in this. You have pattern also. So if you want this, you can, 4th August 2011, you can see these movies. Because you have our Indian variety also, like Chak De, and you have Lagan, which give you a lot of lessons in management. What I'm trying to tell you is there's another trend of getting into movies as a learning process. I had an occasion to learn a program, to go through a program on action-centered leadership, in which 40% of that program was movie. There was one movie called 12 O'Clock High. It's a terrific movie. It has 2 parts. Part 1 is a leader. He goes away. Part 2, Gregory Peck, another leadership. So you will see 2 leaders, how they perform. Everything is the same. when the second leader takes over, the people are demoralized, there is a defeat staring on their face, the Germans are being victorious, planes of the Allies have been shot down, and Gregory Peck takes over. And how Gregory Peck transforms the same set of people into victory is that movie called 12 O'Clock High. Please don't miss it. It's a movie on action-centered television. You can pick up wonderful things about what a leader should do as an action. I'm not talking about leader as a trait. No. I'm not talking about leader as a skill, but leader as an action. What actions you should take. Please go through. The other thing, which again is catching on, is mentoring, wherein you have people on a one-to-one basis, coaching people at senior level to pick up things, sharing experiences, and thereby developing. Some challenges for the training and development people, which is what I'm going to end up with. Measurement of training. It's been always a situation where the chief executive keeps asking this question: I'm investing so much of money, what do I get out of it? Yeah, there are many models of it. Different organizations follow different models. I think the last model is very difficult to follow, where you can't really measure the training. What the first, second, and the third levels are mostly what people follow. Even the third level is not so easy, because we were not able to really pinpoint whether the guy has really transformed or translated the learning into actual application of it. The second one is, I always believe that training has been, in many organizations, at least the organizations are smaller in size, as an add-on. The HR man takes over training. He also supposed to do training in addition to the other functions. I feel training is a separate issue. There must be a separate individual who should keep on getting focused on training. Then only we will get actual results out of what we are looking at of training. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thanks, Mr. Hari. He took that 15 minutes effectively. And I think he has awakened you, because when stories and information comes, I saw a lot of people pulling out papers and writing down. I had somebody on the stage pulling out and taking those information. Very valid questions asked. Why should I continue training when people could leave my organization? What do you focus in training? And of course, ended with the challenges of still how do you measure the effectiveness of training. So we move on. We are running out of time, and I'm going to ask my other speakers to speed up a little bit. We have a commitment to close. A lot of other sessions coming in. And so the next speaker for us is Mr. V. Ganeshan, who's going to speak on a very interesting topic. I had a chat with him before we came up here. And he's going to talk on the inclusiveness of training and development. This word inclusiveness is really a buzzword in many circles, especially in the social circles. So we'll see what he has to tell us here. Mr. Ganeshan, a gentle VP HR, very gentle VP HR in IFC Financial Services, possessing a number of years of experience in IR and labor law. Proven career record of solving IR issues with no productive loss, has bagged many awards for the companies he's worked. Obviously, the gentleness has helped him, I believe. He's well-known personality in IR for negotiation and employee engagement, implementing ERP business process, re-engineering, role-based competency mapping are some of the skills being exposed at work. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together and invite Mr. V. Ganeshan to give us an inclusiveness of training and development.
Good afternoon, my HR fraternity.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
And I don't know how I'm going to do justice for after Mr. Hari. Okay, let me try my best. Okay. I would like to say, you know which is the most confusion day for India? Anybody could help me out on that? Most confusion day. Sorry? 14th. You are right? You are not right? Anybody else?
It's a confusion.
Okay. That's it was a confusion. Okay. Let me tell you
One
that.
hand is going up there.
Where? Who would like that? Tell me.
Announcement of election results.
Fantastic. You are also right. But the point is this. When a Raksha Bandhan and Valentine's Day falls, on the same day, okay. But today is not a confusion. Voltec has done a phenomenal job, in organizing this fantastic event. Okay? Please give them a big hand. I would like to start that. And my presentation is going to be a simple vanilla presentation. Since I know a lot of students are coming, you will have a lot of things to note in the presentation. Okay, it is more on the process and the work method and work norm, how to impress upon the management, and how to effectively run a learning and development. Okay, let me. Yeah. Why inclusive approach I have taken consciously? See, if you see, the employer has got, the ambition, very high ambition of growth. Similarly, there is an aspiration of the employee. As HR, we need to balance it. How are we going to do that? One. Two. Progressive companies give trust only on people development, and it can be achieved only through learning and development. Business growth and people growth are hand in glove. Hence, if you see this particular era, everybody used to start talking about inclusive growth, inclusive culture, inclusive economy. So I thought, as HR faculty, we should also do a inclusivity in the learning and development process. See, if we fail to provide a semblance of inclusivity, our growth would be kept as a dream, like political promises. Promises will be kept as promises. So, in my presentation, I would like to take you through a semblance of a good HR practices, how an inclusive approach towards talent development, resulting in a learning organization. This is my objective. Okay, now. My structure of the presentation is going to be like this. The challenges in general which our L&D is facing. Second one is the employee aspirations. Then third, while executing these things, what are the challenges? Which like what the HR guys have to look into. And the ideal process that coming to my mind, which I would like to share with all the people. And the general questions which John we will get it in the presentation. If you see, determining, the first challenge is determining the learning need itself is the biggest challenge. If you see, the very process of determining the need is, is absolute uncertainty, ambiguity, subjectivity, and no one would ever like to accept that he is an ill-equipped guy, for doing their current job. You can't see the improvement immediately. And for doing the current job, the training is not being addressed appropriately. Absolutely no data for the next level planning. How to go about what is to be done, how are we going to clarify expectations, what next, all these things. Second one is the selection style and pattern of training design is vary from one to another. What I would like to convey here is one man's meat is the other guy's poison, I would say. In the sense, even though often this proverb used and perfect to describe the learning, I would describe the training methodology, I would like to say. What works for one man may not for the next. So it should be more, what I want to emphasize here, it should be more on an individual basis. Then, the million different ways in which the behavioral pattern can be evaluated. Mr. Hari has suggested so many things and adds a further layer of complexity in the process. How are we going to go about it? What needs to be done? Again, the functional requirements are also not easy to measure. how see some of the employee aspirations. They will have long-term, short-term plans to be taken care. Create meritorious organization. Whatever I do, if I do a good job, people in my management should recognize. Does an organization has a proper promotion policies? My management encourage employees and try to fulfill the career goals. Like this, there are a lot of aspirations, but as HRI we need to balance between these two. That means we are walking in a tightrope. How are we going to do that? What is the tactics that we need to use it for that? Here are some of my input and thought. This is what I have in fact attempted, and I could see some success in that. Aligning the learning activity to the businesses, which is absolutely not happening, which we are not able to justify, to getting there. The second one is the ownership of the learning should be on the shoulder of the employees. Why in conscious when you are going for school and all, they are giving you syllabus, it is the onus on us, we need to educate ourselves in school, maths and so many other stuff. Is it absolutely not happening in our style of functioning and operations? Third one is, as Mr. Hari said very clearly, the measurement, impact of the training, and the cost effectiveness as well as in a reliable manner is also a big challenge. And finally, very important, the management commitment. And how are we going to, bring in the same platform the functional heads, the line managers, and when the training starts? Can anybody help me out? When the training starts in an organization?
After the needs assessment.
After the
Needs assessment.
fantastic. You're right. You're not right.
Induction.
Great. Sorry?
At the time of joining.
Absolutely yes.
At the time of joining.
Exactly. That is what I wanted to emphasize here. That is my objective. And see, the point is, when a guy pitches in, we should know what is the skills that he lacks. In the sense, which is lacks, why you need to select. There are a lot of questions that will come. Let me explain you one by one in the other slide. And according to me, it starts in the talent development acquisition onwards. If you see this slide, this is what I have tried, and it is paying certain results for me. Anybody comes in, I have a specific job description for them. It's a simple job. We need not worry that so many things to be written and other stuff. It is a simple job description which we need to have it for the particular role, and then based on that, develop a role clarification document which will help you to understand the empowerment schedule for the particular person in terms of recommendation level, in terms of approval level, and what are the qualification you need, what are the experience that you need, what is the cost application, compare it with the other guys. Like that, if you create who's the internal customer and external customer. When you create this document, with this, we can easily draw a role-based competency mapping, which will help you out to understand the criticality of the competency and the proficiency level. Coupled with that, you will capture the behavioral needs as well as the technical needs. With that, what we have done is, each employee will have a business result and organization capability building. Coupled with that, the induction process. Induction process will vary from individual employee to employee. What we have done is, if you want to spend, if the internal customer is X guy, we will give them 3-4 days extra, so that we start settling down quickly and start delivering right from day one. That's a simple thing. For that, we need a small planning, which we have done. And with the BR and OCB, that is business result and OCB. OCB is nothing but system level improvement, and the BR is nothing but your targets linked with the output. With that, we will fix a target, and based on the balance scorecard and the business plan. For all the employees, this is there. The norm and method have been clearly defined in a sheet of paper, and we have given it. Then the same norm will be evaluated in the appraisal system, wherein we will know the difference, the PMS difference, rather the gap in PMS. You will ask me what is the gap in PMS. So gap in PMS is that for a particular task, if we say that extremely good, if the superior is telling is really good or average, there is a difference of opinion. There, the cue, we need to take it, as a HR guy, and that should get converted as a training this thing, so that we can easily convince the employees. Then the actual training identification comes, wherein the ingredient should be gaps in PMS, previous PMS scopes, your feedback on PMS, what are the new initiatives that the management wanted to do, and the changes on the business dynamics, if any, and the individual career progression, his aspiration. All these things put together, we will have a TNI plan in consultation with the employee, HOD, and his employees. After that, it's a question of process. It's simply training delivery, whereas the course content and the trainer identification, it is a routine, I would say. And as far as the next important thing is the training effectiveness. What we have followed is this multi-stimuli model, where you will have pre-test and post-test for all the training program, irrespective of whether it's a behavioral or a technical or anything. Except the seminars and other stuff. Seminar normally we used to sponsor only to senior level guys. Okay, now I'm talking about the managerial guy, execution guy, and the coordination guy, how to take them to the next level. Since the complex mapping has been done, the expectation has been very clearly said, if I want to move from one particular band to another thing, this is what I expected to. So there is a definite carrot on his eyes, and he will start moving on that. And coming back to the training effectiveness, the classroom training will be there. The learning application project, every employee will be given an LAP very clearly, and after 3 months the same will be evaluated and an audit score is being given. This is how an MI is sent to the management. This is the process we have done. So my analogy as far as the L&D is concerned, the inclusivity, if you want to bring in, the two pillars are talent acquisition and talent management, on which if you are going to plan our L&D, it's going to be effective.
The organization has done a fantastic job. Training is just another routine to be followed as a procedure, but I think it takes more than that. That's exactly back to basics, back to what we saw in the first session. Can you make the person feel as an individual? That's the charm of a mother in a family. Every child is special, and suddenly the family comes alive. Now, can you give that difference when you treat your employees? Include them in the process of what they need and how you can identify that and integrate it. It's a huge challenge. I'm not saying it's easy, but I think even the awakening of awareness that comes, it takes us to the next level. And some organizations have done a fantastic job of that. We have the next speaker, T.K. Prem Kumar, Head Training and Development, Larsen & Toubro Buildings and Factories Limited, has more than 20 years of experience, out of which 13 plus years collectively only in training and development programs to the corporates. Trained employees in various aspects of retail with Reliance Retail Limited, and had participated in retail training sessions associated with Capgemini Australia. Represented India as a goodwill ambassador to Netherlands to Group Study Exchange Program from Rotary International, examiner for evaluating internship reports for diploma in training and development candidates of ISTD, Delhi, certified by Meredith Belbin UK and Belbin Team Role Accreditation, and passed the accreditation course with distinction. He has this, both academic and delivery. MBTI certified facilitator, undergone management development program conducted by IIM Bangalore, a gold medal holder from the University of Madras in BS Geology, started way back, and an outstanding candidate of the ISTD Delhi. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands to Prem Kumar for his input. Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. The next 15 minutes we are going to see about one innovative training methodology. So before I start, I would like to ask some of the young students, because they have studied books recently. What are the different kinds of training methodologies which you have often seen and which you have often encountered? Can you name a few? Lecture. Very, very common is lecture then. Outbound training, fine.
On the job and off the job training.
Off the job, okay, fine. Then
On the job training.
fine. We have got role plays, exercises, simulation games, etc. etc. Case studies is also another powerful. And as I was saying, psychometric tool testing is also very powerful tools. MBTA, Dr. Bedit, what all certified. Others is like we was talking about that other psychometric tools. They're all very powerful training methodologies. Nevertheless, recently I had an opportunity to attend one training program which was conducted by L&T. We have got a management development center located in Lonavala, during which I attended a 2 days workshop on corporate theatre. So that is a very big eye-awakening phenomena for me. I have been in the training field for so many years. So I came across this beautiful training methodology conducted by Mr. Paul Matthew. Subsequently, I started doing that particular training methodology in our LLG, which has become very successful, and we are very happily doing this program for all level of employees, which we are going to see next 15 minutes. My presentation has been kept like this. There will be a lot of photographs. Of course, I will be speaking here now. Subsequently, after I speak, there will be some 2-3 clippings which I would like to show about this latest methodology which we have used for this training. This is a very good photograph which was used as a skit in that particular. It was used in the program called Team Excellence for Productivity. This is about a birthday party. There is also another picture about a birthday party in which the birthday boy is actually cutting the cake along with his friends, etc. etc. The people who came to help the birthday party very successful, the catering people. This is a photograph about an orchestra where you can see a person actually playing the keyboard and drums and the flutist, the guitarist, the male singer, female singer, and one person has become the podium where the lyrics have been kept. And this is a very good photograph which has been showing a skit in which a person is getting executed and the other persons are there to see that he is being properly executed. Okay, great. Yeah. Corporate theatre training methodology is one of the most innovative and rapidly evolving training methodologies. This methodology enables participants to bring out their immense potentiality. It facilitates participants to enjoy and deliver excellence under challenging, changing, and high-pressure conditions. The methodology is delivered on a totally experiential and interactive platform. There's a very good photograph in which you can see the bride actually runs away with the lover and the bridegroom is very much upset and the parents are also upset. Of course, there's a photographer and then the Panditji is there and an orchestra people is there. This is a photograph and a fight which is a plane hijack. The pilot has been hijacked by a terrorist and the air hostess is actually enjoying the hijack. Okay. Actually, it should be reversed. Okay. Yeah, the methodology can effectively address many areas of development such as team instinct for excellence, situation leadership, powerful communication, individual and team creativity, trust and delegation, commitment to excellence, collaboration, conflict management, time management, team energizing, etc. etc. This is a good photograph. It's about L&T construction site. You can see a JCB, and that is a wall which makes not the common people to get inside, and then there are construction workers also there. A typical corporate theatre workshop might include a day starts with a series of games and exercises used extensively with participants to relax and free themselves for the day, and moves on to a session that's all about your body language. This helps you to break psychological barriers and becomes more expressive and engaging. After this, there are further sessions on the use of voice and movement in which you will learn how to prepare and warm up your voice and body for the performance. In this process, many attributes that is required for any kind of a person to be available. This is a very good photograph which was taken recently. I conducted this program last week at Bangalore in Hotel Orchid for our Bangalore International Airport Limited employees. So we had all level of employees starting from supervisors to senior level. You can see, I don't know how far it is clear. You can see this gentleman is a very senior level person. He has taken the role as a common farmer in that particular, it is a king's situation. King and queen are there, and you have a minister and a Rajaguru. And then this is a farmer who has actually removed his shirt for the purpose of actually taking the role as a farmer. very senior person. Generally, it doesn't happen in any kind of a normal training program. Okay. This is another photograph. Now, what are the other advantages of this methodology? The importance of the following attributes in today's corporate world can be brought about easily. Namely, integration comes very fast. People come to know about the goal clarity, and they also come to know the role clarity for achieving the goals. And role acceptance happens automatically in this particular methodology. And the importance of training and practice in achieving the goals becomes very clear. This is another photograph just taken in that hotel orchard. There is an orchestra, a male singer, female singer, and a flautist. Okay, team building process, the 5 stages of team building as per Tuckman, namely forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning, which becomes very difficult in the normal corporate environment. Here it happens automatically. Okay, then collaboration and synergy, very good. Ownership and accountability. Resource creation, another good thing about this particular training methodology is that people become highly creative, and then they go into the concept of, without their knowledge itself, they go into the concept of resource creation, resource optimization, and resource utilization. Another good photograph. This is about there is a small rhyme which was given to them. London Bridge is falling down. London Bridge is falling down. So during that time, the photograph was taken. Okay, this is also another photograph in which the bride runs away with the person, but taken in different kind of environment.
Why every time bride is running away with the person?
That is one easy situation for anybody to enact. So that's the reason we have been giving. You have been seeing the photographs taken during different training programs. That's why it looks so many times the bride is running away.
Bride runs away with the pujari.
Okay. Other advantages: creativity, smart working using the right brain, listening skills. Shedding ego is another powerful thing which can be an outcome of this particular product. Win-win attitude, planning, conceptual skills, and then presence of mind. This is another photograph of an orchestra. This orchestra. Motivation is there automatically because each team has to perform in front of the other team, and among the team also there is a requirement for each person to come out with his best. So that intrinsic motivation as well as extrinsic motivation comes out automatically. Then time management is very, very important because every team has to finish that particular activity in a particular time. Then importance of positive attitude. All team members are leaders is one good thing which comes out of one of the good learning of the methodology. And one good thing which comes out of this methodology is that team interest surpasses the individual interest. And importance of body language. And trust is another fantastic thing which comes out of this particular program. This is a situation in in a court scene, I suppose. This is also another situation of an execution taking place. Okay, perception and its relationship to success and failures is another learning outcome. Importance of learning from mistakes and moving forward is another learning outcome. How competition helps us to improve performance is another learning outcome. And how others' feedback helps to correct ourselves is also another very good learning outcome. And listening to our opponent's speech, because much of our mistakes are known to the opponent, is also another good learning outcome. Okay, this is the photograph just taken on just a 2 days program which was conducted for our Bangalore International Airport employees. You could have seen this photograph was taken exactly on the first day before the program can start. Look at the way all the participants are standing. They are all standing in a very linear fashion, and the faculty, myself, is there. And the project director, Mr. Sanjeev Gupta, is also standing. You see the next day morning, the photograph. I didn't do anything, I only used that particular methodology. You can see how close they have become. It has happened so automatically without much effort from the faculty. Okay. Now.
Some women are missing.
Some women are
Very good observation. Okay. Now friends, there are some limitations in this kind of methodology, as most of you may be trainers and young students may be knowing. Any kind of a training methodology class got its own plus and minus. Similarly, out of my experience, because I went and searched the net for the purpose of this presentation, nothing is available in the net. So based upon the 2 days program which I underwent, I started practicing in my company using the project trainees, and of course my family members also became the DPs. So afterwards it came out very nicely. Now I've been conducting for 4 times, and coming Monday also I'm going to Bombay to conduct this program for senior level employees. One of the limitations for this program is that it requires a spacious training hall. Second thing is that you require a committed training coordinator who can help you during the whole process. If at all if somebody is there, you are lucky. Otherwise, there will be a stress on the faculty because it involves a lot of activity. Third thing is that the trainer should never become an entertainer. There is always a possibility in this particular methodology, the trainer will become an entertainer. Participants also will go home with the aha feeling, but effectiveness of the training will fall back. So, the trainer should possess good facilitation skills, that is, debriefing after every activity is essential. So, all the PowerPoint presentation which you have prepared in the last so many years as a good trainer will come as a database for you to facilitate. So, never undermine that lecture methodology. And trainer should have patience to bring the participants out of the psychological barriers. So, these are the limitations which I have found out based upon my research on this particular training methodology. And with this, I will close my presentation. I will ask my MBA project trainees to show you some few clippings which will be very, very interesting and a very good energizer like a soup before the lunch. Because after the lunch. Okay. And of course, this is a photograph just taken during the debriefing session in the beautiful Bangalore. And these are my contact details. Fine. At any point of time, if you want to get any information on this methodology, I request you to contact me. Please go ahead. Switch lights, when you light up. Light up. Volume. It's music, no?
Play. First play.
Responsible for the verification of all the logistics. I request your emperor to honor him with presence in the title.
Now, this round is what is the rule after coming operation? Oh, we can do the as within the triangle. Is it clear, friends? Okay. Here now.
Okay, friends, there are two more clippings, but because of lack of time, I'm not going to show this. Thank you. At any point of time, if you require any clarification related to this particular training methodology, you are requested to contact me. Thank you very much.
I can identify a lot with what he says. Because interestingly, my daughter is doing her drama therapy course in the US. This is used extensively with children with learning disabilities. And the simple concept is that today you and I are judged in organizations primarily because of two intelligence. One is your communication, language skills. The other one is your reasoning ability. Beyond that, the other intelligences are not tapped. The education system uses only these two, and that's where the judgment comes in. Most of the people who are not effective in life are intelligent in other areas, it's not recognized. Simple statistical data of all the people in prisons are highly intelligent, but because of the lack of these two, they don't get recognized. And so it's a very, very interesting and advancing area in which you use to bring out the wholeness of individuals. And you saw how people shed inhibitions. It can be very threatening in the beginning, but you loosen up, and a lot of learning happens because of that. You shed the masks for them. Life itself is a drama, And I tease my daughter saying that you've got a drama therapy because of all the drama at home, and it's been therapy for us. And as a parent, you discover so much of yourself because of what happens through these processes. So it's an exciting area, a big area. Thank you for opening eyes to this. Thank you, Mr. Prem Kumar, for that. We move on to our next speaker. Just rush through this. I think I'll have to curtail the discussion and question time to save up on time. But we have a very interesting person with us next to speak, Mr. Ilango, Chairman and Managing Director of ACE Panaceous Soft Skills Private Limited. The Chairman and Managing Director of this organization is ACE Entertainers and ACE Fans Ads. The other group organization is academically qualified with MPhil, MA and PGDTE. He is pursuing his PhD in English and life skills. He has the unique distinction of being the world's only visually challenged voice-over artist who has won the applause in the field of music, voiceover and business. As a known celebrity through all the TV channels for his life-inspiring story, motivational melodies and professional articulation in Tamil and English. He has been a role model for thousands of youth in and around Tamil Nadu. And ladies and gentlemen, he practices what he preaches. Let's put our hands together and welcome him.
A very good afternoon, friends. Thank you. I think Mr. Stephen said it right. It's my pleasure to be amidst all of you great dignitaries who have achieved things in life. As Mr. Stephen was kind enough with his lovely introduction of me, there's one thing that I always like to propagate about myself, would like to proclaim about myself. As I practice what I preach. Now here, this session on training also has given me enough convincing reason that I can also be present here and probably share a couple of things with you. ACE Panaceous Soft Skills Private Limited, as introduced by Mr. Stephen, is an organization with over 300 trainers in its network, and we go around training the college students and corporate personnel at all levels. So I think we have a kind of a conviction to present something based on the experience, because our team has trained the future entrepreneurs, future HR people, future leaders, and the present leaders, the present managers, the CEOs, and so on. In my view, training is a process of inspiration, where the trainer becomes more of a facilitator to make the participants think on their own and act on their own. And after such training process, once the process has been initiated, the trainees, the participants, are never afraid of making mistakes because they know that their errors are the mirrors. Whether it is in the corporate world or in the college segment. Initiative skills, leadership skills, goal settings or team building or personality enrichment, interpersonal ability, team skills are some of the areas that our trainers have been doing excellent jobs in colleges and companies. For example, initiative skills. When one is confident of initiative skills, one is a good initiator, one would not have any confusion, even if the same day falls with Valentine's Day and Raksha Bandhan Day. I think the person will be more sure as to whom to be for what and so on. So I think the clarity is a magical word I've always observed in my training. See, I always want to proclaim one thing, project one thing, very clear. Somebody asked a question as when does the training actually begin, when does the process begin? Even at the very time of induction, the training process begins and all that. I would say overall, for a human being, the process begins ever since he or she is born. Is that right? And the best trainer for any person is, especially for a person like me, is his or her own mother. My mother has trained me very well. I would like to talk about qualification. I have the most important privilege of my mother being not educated. Probably that is why she was able to do some of the more sensible things. Mrs. Stephen talked about her daughter being interested in theatre being used as a tool, basically, a drama therapy or whatever. My mother, not being blessed with all kinds of formal education, did all the right things in bringing up a person like me who could not see the world, not having too much of patronizing attitude, at the same time not really neglecting the person as I was. So I took the clue from there, what training was all about. Became a teacher trainer. I'm just cutting short, I can talk about myself. A lot of interesting, inspiring stuff. Being a gold medalist from Loyola College, after my MA, I just went on to do my MPhil, where I just specialized in English language teaching, where they prepare us to be teacher trainers at school and college level, because the teachers need more training. I'm sure the students would accept that, more than the students. The teachers would prefer training. You ask me in any organization, you go and train the middle-level management people, they'll always just give you the feedback at the end. Why don't you train our boss? The top-notch training. So it's always the training is for everybody. From, shall we say, newborn kids to the CEO of an organization. We all need training, we know that. So I think it has been a process of inspiration. All the time I keep saying that. I'm more of a public speaker nowadays, of course. I just don't train people in big groups and offer them in small groups. But I've tasted the greatness of training, the fruits of training. I always believe that to have a result-oriented training, the relationship matters between the trainer and the participant. group. Am I right? The rapport, as they call it, R-A-P-P-O-R-T, rapport, matters. The participants always believe in expecting something in terms of inspiration and role model kind of an example from the trainer. It's like a trainer handling a session on angry management becomes ultimately very angry with the participants' behavior. Ironical, isn't it? So I think the trainer-trainee relationship, whether it is in the corporate sector or the college segment, determine the success of the training. Am I right? That's the reason trainers always begin with humor, anecdotes, and so on, connecting to the people. In my experience, I've always been a successful trainer. I've always been a highly rated trainer, not because of my expertise at all. There are greater scholars, eminent persons, well-read, voraciously read scholars. But my trainings have always been interesting from the point of view of the participants, primarily because of my being able to connect to them instantly and relate to whatever that being the theme of the whole training. Being able to relate with personal experiences, empathy. So these have been some of the great experiences I've been having, starting from even school for that matter, school training to college training to corporate training. With corporate training, I think it's all about all levels of management, top notch, middle level, and even the employees level on the aspects of leadership or employee relationship. Our modules have been known for their emotional intelligence success. We've been making excellent progress. My head corporate trainer, great friend, colleague Lilitha is also here. She would probably throw some light on her personal experience on what exactly went with this particular concept of emotional intelligence. Mr. Stephen was talking about different kinds of intelligence. Somebody said, what we call intelligence, I think it was J.K. who said that. What we call intelligence is not intelligence because we expect students to absorb knowledge from the textbook in terms of information, store it nicely in a memory chip, and then skillfully use it in the examination. Is that right? That's exactly what we expect from the students. He says that is not intelligent at all. Whether we use it skillfully or unskillfully. In fact, people who use skillfully become managers, people who use unskillfully become entrepreneurs. So I think, what is intelligence? What is success? All these terminologies need more clarity, and it is only the trainers who can provide these qualities. For want of a better word, I just use the word trainers, the facilitators, resource persons, whoever. It is they who can possibly throw light on all that. Especially, I'm more interested in the younger generation right now, because our generation has become so corrupt to the extent of about 2,75,000 crores and all that stuff, I think. We have to concentrate towards our younger generation and make them aware of training and make them also understand why training. Somebody said, in our organization, not much of productivity. Why training? Attrition is an issue. Why training? Bad attitude is an issue. Why training? Not much of production and success. Not much of GDP. Why training? I think these are the places which require more training. Am I right? It's like saying, for example, in colleges, my marketing team used to come across this sort of funny example, saying that they'll say, see, most of the students have more number of arrears than they're supposed to have. I don't know whether there's any level. Why do such students have to go through training? I just told them very clearly, my people, in fact, why don't you tell them that it is these people who need to go through training? As in terms of how to really sustain themselves despite arrears. And I felt like saying this before I conclude and invite my friend Lita. Somebody was handling a communication class and talking about oxymorons and all that. Gave an example, happily married. And another example is business ethics. I think we need to really change the scenario with a sense of more responsibility. I've been able to do, personally speaking, I've been able to do this part of being an inspiration. For example, let me wind up with this particular anecdote. After watching a television program of mine recently, a lady called me. She was in probably tears, of course. I could see that. I like that word. I could see that over the phone. No video phone anyway. She was in tears, and she told me that she had her plans. The previous day she had her own plans of self-immolation with her 2 kids being abandoned or deserted by her husband, with a lot of debts around because of the man. She had plans of committing suicide with her children. Incidentally, that evening she was supposed to have ended her life along with her children after feasting or after hosting something for her children. The last, Jesus would say, Last Supper. I think she also planned to have last lunch with her children. But then that morning my program was there. She incidentally tuned into that and watched that. And she told me that she had abandoned her plan of committing suicide completely. I asked her, was it because of a person like me? Only why can't she? Not because of that. She had determined herself to fight the odds of life. Now, if this was not training, what was training? Inspiration. Now, she decided to go ahead with the odds of life. Of course, she knew which doors to knock for help. She did the right thing. Of course, I did my own part to help her in certain aspects. Now, she is an entrepreneur. She has her own export tailoring small company. She is giving job opportunity for about 80 other women. See, training eventually should lead to such transformation. Mine was a very small example, of course, very tiny. But training, if properly done, with great intention, because very often we find that the trainers do the job just for the sake of doing training. Is that right? I'm so sorry not to hurt anybody. The trainers become, if I may use the word, superficial. They are more conscious of time, they are more conscious of their remuneration. They are more conscious of many other aspects that are involved extraneously, rather than the impact among the trainees, whether it is to do with the top notch or whatever. Now, in this context, I would like to make it a little more specific by inviting Lalita, my friend, who would share her experience on whatever that she has actually faced in terms of being a very successful trainer. Just a word on Lalita, of course. A person who plans things meticulously, who takes training very seriously. She doesn't take it as a time pass at all. I don't say that trainers do, but some trainers do. It's like somebody asked me for a job. I remember the other day being recommended by one of my friends. And she called me and said, so Mr. X referred, and I heard that there are a lot of things that you do for your people, 300 trainers are there. Could I also join your organization? I asked her, what could she do before sending her papers? She said, maybe I can become a trainer. Maybe I can become a trainer. And what capacity do you think that you can become a trainer? No, because I speak English very well. Wonderful. Just because one speaks English well, one has the audacity to think that one could become a trainer, successful trainer. That's a trend. Sometimes people have said wrongly, but there are some excellent classy trainers. I think I've come across such trainers also. I have been trained by such people also, for that matter, during my college days, during my school days. Lalita is one such person who takes training very seriously, and she is here to talk about training. But before I move away, I feel like singing a small line, a couple of lines from a song. Can I?
Please, yes. Yes, please.
It is from the great Kannadasan. I think training cannot be defined better than this. பார்க்க தெரிந்தால் பாதை தெரியும், பார்த்து நடந்தால் பயணம் தொடரும், பயணம் தொடர்ந்தால் கதவு திறக்கும், கதவு திறந்தால் காட்சி கிடைக்கும், காட்சி கிடைத்தால் கவலை தீரும், கவலை தீர்ந்தால் வாழலாம். Thank you. See, பார்க்க தெரிந்தால் பாதை தெரியும், goal setting, vision. பார்த்து நடந்தால் பயணம் தொடரும், initiative skills. பயணம் தொடர்ந்தால் கதவு திறக்கும், கதவு திறந்தால் காட்சி கிடைக்கும், காட்சி கிடைத்தால் கவலை தீரும், கவலை திறந்தால் 2 லட்சம் கோடி ரூபாய் சம்பாதிக்கலாம். I think this song has always been one of my inspirations. Because I'm a musician and people were talking about some different techniques and methodologies and so on. My company has been excelling just in terms of inventing some greater, newer methodologies like training people through music. Isai Vari Paichi. Training people through music. And since I'm a professionally trained musician, since I have a capacity of being able to sing about 2,000 songs from just memory without doing my notes, I think songs do play a vital role, like how skits, theatrical performance, or for that matter, I remember during my workshops, I don't conduct them anymore, just about 3-4 years ago I used to be doing that. Enhancing students' proficiency through theatrical performances. Making people perform roles and different roles and interchange roles, and the kinetics involved in that, making people do more acting, all that involved in theatrics. I think all the inspiration from Loyola Theatre Society, LTS, since I was a part of it in the early days. I think theatrics also help. Music, in a similar manner, does help to make you think better. See, all the PPTs, all the great videos, whatever that could be shown, if 2 or 3 songs, well sung, aptly sung, aptly chosen, and well sung, I'm sure they will convey greater impact. This has been my experience personally also. And learner-centered approach, all that could also be enhanced in the process. No, let me not just make much to work. Thanks. Over to Lalita. I love you all. Thank you so much. Enjoy being with you. Thank you.
opening our eyes to many things. Please give him a applause. One of the words come very strongly that many of us go through life seeing, but yet not seeing. And people like him inspire us to see a lot within us. And if we can move from that not seeing to seeing, I think we can become great achievers in life. And that's the whole idea of training itself, to awaken an individual to see what he or she has within him. And that's the training that does. And so I would invite Lalita to conclude what Ilengo has said. Just a few words about Lalita, a trainer known as a crowd puller in the stage of training, employee psychology, sales. She has been serving to many people through a unique way of training, ensuring they learn during the course of training with active and passive events. Knowledge transfer has been the biggest task in front, and she's been doing successfully this for the last 20 years. She has served with top multinational companies, won awards and certifications at international arena. A simple and a strong woman, illuminating many lives throughout her service. Please put your hands together for her.
Dignitaries on the dais and in the audience. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm not going to take much of your time as Ilengo has created such an impact. My essential topic is going to be training effectiveness and its role in employee engagement. Taking off from Mr. Sharma's talk in the afternoon, when he said employee engagement is creating bonds. How are these bonds created? That is where the role of effective training programs come into play. We heard many of the eminent speakers here who spoke about training methodologies, the pattern in which the training can be conducted, why training, and the need for training and how it is going to be effective in organizations. I would like to take it a little further only by adding that how does an organization assess the training needs of the individual and create a buy-in? When does employee engagement happen? When there is a bonding, when there is a buy-in? When does that buy-in happen? The buy-in happens when the employee realizes that there is something in it for him or for her. So in today's context, everybody wants to know what is in it for me. So the employee gets to know what is in it for him or her through a process called as I think Mr. Ganeshan had mentioned, competency mapping. Each and every job role has a description and the employees map, and I think the next session in recruitment will take you further as to how the mapping happens and how people are employed into an organization. This mapping essentially looks at the technical description of the various functions of the job. But in addition to the technical descriptions, as people grow up the career ladder, there are some leadership behaviors or skills that is expected. In the recent past, there is a moment gaining importance called the assessment centers. I'm sure many of the seniors would be aware of these assessment centers. Assessment centers are places wherein international certified people, I'm a Thomas certified assessor. There are internationally certified assessors who come into the organization. They conduct a simulated program for a day or two for the individuals in the middle management and the senior management. At the end of which, the individuals are by themselves aware of what is required and where they lack with respect to going to the next levels. Now, if organizations are able to work on developing an assessment center or a development center pattern before going into training, the buy-in of the training happens at the employee level. So training effectiveness and employee engagement happens in a very easy manner. Now, once this assessment center is complete, the training needs analysis is made. Training need analysis is only a part of it. When there are 50 top-notch middle-level deputy general managers and there are only 4 posts at the next level, who are going to be those 4 individuals? I'm sure HR professionals on the dais and in the audience know how difficult it is to choose those 4 professionals who go into the next level. At that time, the high-level behavioral skills and leadership skills come into play, and these development centers and assessment centers help in analyzing what are those critical skills that are required for employees or for the leaders to go to the next level. So such future leadership programs as part of a training package would help in increasing the effectiveness of training and bring in more training, more people buy-in, and thereby the individual realizes, if not in this organization, wherever I am, these are the skills I require to go to that level. So this sort of buy-in is very, very important to create that mantra or the keyword, the employee engagement. We have had, as Ilango said, we have had the opportunity to work with various organizations training programs, and one such experience was with Namakkal Transport Corporation, where the senior directors, managing director, vice presidents, they were part of our program. This program was based on emotional intelligence. The key word of what happened was a simulated exercise pattern which we introduced. It was not a development center, but we introduced that pattern for the first day. The result of which, from the second day, those senior personnel started bringing in live case studies and started having such open discussions for the next 4 days. The egos were down, the barriers were down, and the objectivity came into scene. If we are able to develop such training programs and youngsters here at the educational institutions, if we are able to educate the next generation about a focused training program for the future gen, definitely I am sure that each and every training program would be effective and there would be no questions as to why training. Thank you so much.
I must appreciate if she says that completed on time. We must give her a big hand for that. I'm going to refrain from asking questions because of lack of time, but is there anybody who really wants something to be asked? In the audience, only one question. Yes, Doctor. Please.
Question goes to Madam Lalita. Top course soft skills. I thought you would be mentioning it.
Yeah, yes.
Can you name it?
Yes. The four interpersonal skills and team skills. There is a difference between interpersonal skills and team skills. I will not go into details now. So team skills and team bonding and team building and team management. Team skills has an important role. So interpersonal skills, team skills, and third, very basic, required for youngsters who are coming into their careers and for the future professionals also is etiquettes. Business etiquettes, general etiquettes. Etiquettes today when we stand here on the podium, when we address the audience, for each and everything there are certain norms prescribed. So these etiquettes form a very important part of training. And finally you can say communication. Communication, I have put it to the 4th place because yes, it does play an important role. But when all the other 3 skills are in place, communication comes in very easy. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Read the Constiani. It's a parable. It's like a story.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to read. Hits the nail on the head. And people who are on the top of the organization, who manage organizations like him, Doctor, you will see shades of it in your organization, what is mentioned about team building and team spirit. Terrific book. You can sit down, stretch your leg, and finish it in 2 hours time. It's so beautiful.
Thank you. That brings us to the complete cycle where we left off with you. I just want to close this session, sir, because we have a whole lot of things coming up and I have a request to close this. Okay? We can take any question offline. I want to respect time to Dinesh. Dinesh has been pins standing there. I just want to give you with this closing remarks, including just this about training. I had a very close friend of mine who did a PhD in IIT Madras. And her dad was one of her mentors who mentored a lot of youngsters like us in our younger days. She had been mentored by her father to become a tremendous person in her own life, and she was doing an IIT Madras aviation. She's no more. She passed away tragically in a road accident when she submitted her thesis in Madras University and was returning to the campus. And that's why it's so significant for me to mention this here. She asked me this question. Very good friend, we used to talk, share a lot on training. And she asked me this question in the IIT campus when I was just moving into this whole area of training. She asked Stephen, if you are in a training session, which is important for you? Who's the most important in a training session? So I jumped up and said the trainer. For me, that seemed to be the most logical because he's the one who's bringing out the whole thing there. And she said, Steve, I don't think it is the trainer. It is the participants. The program is for them. At no time, a trainer is more important than the people who are in the room. And I've never forgotten that lesson in my life. And this is a very difficult lesson to take for facilitators, leaders. We always think we become bigger. And the end test point for all of us is that in the end of any session, if the persons sitting there think that, when can I become like this person? He's such a great person. Has the trainer succeeded or failed?
Succeeded.
Failed. But if the people sitting in the group go back and say, hey, I've got enough potential in me. One day I can be as good as this person or better than this person. That's when the trainer has succeeded. Are we doing this to our students? Are we doing this to our employees? But there is a scarcity mentality available. And I think if we can bring the best out of the people who we are interacting, I think training takes a larger role everywhere you are, whether you are in a training hall or on the shop floors or in your classrooms. You make a difference to the people around. Thank you so much. A big hand to all the speakers. I believe you can make a difference. All of you are sitting there. Thank you.
I had a doubt. Was it a post-lunch session?
Not at all.
Normally in any conferences, you used to see a post-lunch session and managing post-lunch used to be another thing. And throughout the session, I was observing that it didn't even give a feeling that it was a post-lunch session. All the eminent speakers were kind enough to share on different areas and they're bringing so much of information which was quite keeping us, our thoughts in process. And I hope that's going to continue next on the next session. Because as I was telling you, next section, again we have a senior list of guests including Mr. Ganguly, Mr. Suresh, Mr. Malar, Mr. Ravi and Mr. Amal. All of them are already here. Before we go on for the next, I would like to request Mr. Rajamanikya, Director of Voltic Infrastructure, to honor our guest with a small memento. I request Mr. Rajamanikya to honor Mr. Hari, General Manager, Personal HR, the guest speaker from Madurai. It was an honor, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next, Mr. Ganeshan, Vice President HR, IFSI Financial Services Limited. Next, we have Mr. T.K. Prem Kumar, Head Training and Development. Also, I should make a point here that Mr. Prem Kumar has extended his invitation to MBA students who are interested to do their impact training in their company. They can go, they can definitely contact him. He's ready to help them. dear students who are listening to this can definitely contact him at 900-3088-2266. 2266. He has given me his number also, so good. Definitely the next, Mr. Ilango. I don't know whether I should call him a trainer or a singer, as I told in the beginning. He has thrown his skills in both. And then Ms. Lalita from Asia. My sincere thanks to the panel for the effort and the time dedicated to our tech. Before I break, I again repeat, we have a lucky draw at the end of the session. Just to look who is the luckiest HR of the day. I think I missed out one important person, how modern and himself. He is a very good friend of mine, so I can I'm sorry that I missed you out, Mr. Stephen.